If you are currently renting, thinking about buying when your lease ends this year, these are my top 3 tips for you. Number 1, save money. Save a lot of money. You might be thinking, I'm paying $2,000 a month in rent. I could afford a mortgage. And while that's probably true, when you're renting, you also don't have to worry about maintenance. You don't have to worry about a new furnace or a new water heater, a new roof, any of those capital expenditures like that. So not only is it expensive to buy a house, you have your down payment and all those things, closing costs, which we can work on. The seller can help out with all those things. But you also want to have an emergency fund saved because owning a home is expensive. Is it a long-term, better financial decision than renting? 9 times out of 10, yes, it is. But it's still expensive. And if you don't have an emergency fund, you can quickly be underwater. Number 2, give yourself lots of time. The reason I always say start early is because, first of all, it takes a minimum of 30 days for a contract to get accepted, for you to get to the closing table if you're using a loan. Can it be done faster? Yeah, but let's not count on that because, some things happen, delays happen, so we'll plan on 30 days. Now, say we get into a transaction and the inspection doesn't go well and you want to back out. Or the appraisal doesn't go well and we need to back out. Or for some reason, you can't get your loan fully approved. We don't want to be rushing at the last minute to try and find a cheaper house, find a different house, find somewhere for you to live. You don't want to be homeless. That's why you always want to give yourself plenty of time. Because if we wait and we're closing on a house 2 days before your lease ends, well, if something goes wrong, say that seller doesn't leave or something crazy happens to the house or loan doesn't get approved, who knows? What are you going to do? Where are you going to live? That's why I always say give yourself plenty of time. And my last tip number 3, would be making sure that where you're buying, you can live mid to long term. You don't want to be buying somewhere and living there for just a year or two because buying a house is expensive. You have closing costs when you buy, and if you're going to sell in a year or two, you have closing costs when you sell, and those costs are much higher, especially if you hire a real estate agent. Brokerage fees are expensive. So on average, if you're going to buy a house and you're just going to live in it for 2 years, you're not going to make major improvements, then chances are when you go to sell, you're not going to make any money on it. You might actually be losing money because of all of the fees involved. So make sure you either plan to live there a long time, or maybe you're going to live there for just a year or two and turn it into a rental. That's a great option. I love that option. But either way, when you're buying a house, make sure, I say 4-7 years minimum. 4 to 7 years minimum. You don't want to be looking for somewhere for a year or two because your costs really do add up, and it just might make more sense to rent. If you have any other questions, or if you're in the Chicagoland market and you're trying to get out of renting yourself, you want to buy a house, maybe you need to sell a house, feel free, give me a call. My name is Jake McVeigh with the McVeigh Group at Coldwell Banker, and I service the south and southwest suburbs of Chicagoland. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.